Welcome, everybody, to a new show we are just starting today called the Mission Control Show with Nan Arkwright and Joel Bauman. So I'm going to pass it over to Nan here to get us started.
Thank you so much, Emily. Joe and I have been looking forward to this. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist, and I have written books about social emotional learning, mental health issues for children. And one of the first books that I wrote with Joe is Mission Control: A Big Feelings Adventure. So we're excited to share about that and how I use it in my therapy sessions with children, and how people who are listening in can use it with the children they're working with as well. So I'll pass it to Joe to do a little introduction of himself.
Yeah, thank you, Nan. Thank you, Emily. My name is Joe Bauman, and I am an illustrator. I also do IT. That's like my little part-time gig that I do on the side. But I really enjoy working with Nan, and we've been working together at least now, like 3 years now, Nan?
Yes.
And so we just completed our second book together, Tijuana Mañana. You can see that in our background there. Tijuana Mañana, the Anxious Iguana. So that should be coming out pretty soon. So, and available on Amazon. But yeah, so I'm just really looking forward to talking about the Hypnozoids today.
Okay, so I'll share the screen, and what we thought we would do is just go through the story, but each week of the series, we're going to highlight a different character from the story and what we can learn from those characters and what we can share with the children who are reading the story with us. The value of the book is that any challenge that a child is having can be addressed with the book. So far, in my practice, anything that I have wanted to work on with children, I've been able to use this book to encourage them. So I wanted to get started by sharing the book, and we'll just go through, and I'll just point out the Hypnozoid messages that are important to notice. So here's the title page. So Spaceman Sam is the favorite TV show of the main character, Joseph, in the story. And Spaceman Sam teaches kids about emotional regulation. So he teaches them that you can feel these feelings in your body, and if you let someone know about that, they can help calm you so that you're able to solve a problem. So mostly problems are doing something that a child doesn't want to do, and often it involves stopping something that they do like doing. So this is just the dedication. These pictures on the wall are fun because there's Joseph and his family, and you can't see that well on here, but we've got Gretchen, who's the main character in the story. And then this is a little picture one of my clients drew of Gretchen. And over here in the background is Yosemite, which is one of my favorite places to be. So here's Gretchen and Joseph sitting watching their favorite TV show, Spaceman Sam. And he's saying to Gretchen, Spaceman Sam is the best, right, Gretchen? They're best buddies. And Gretchen loves this as much as Joseph, and Joseph is just pretending to be Spaceman Sam, doing all the things that Spaceman Sam does in his imagination.
I remember, Nan, Gretchen in this part of the story is a stuffed animal.
Right. Thank you. And actually, Gretchen we'll talk about Gretchen another week, but Gretchen is my niece's dog who lives in Alaska. So everything's fine until Joseph's mom walks in and tells him it's time to turn off the TV and get ready for bed. So I'm sure that many people have had that experience of having to stop something that's fun and pick up and do something that's not so fun. So this is his reaction. So this is what in my practice I hear a lot about, which is why Joe drew Joseph this way, because kids this is the emotional regulation piece. I don't know how to go from doing something I really love to doing something I really don't want to do. So Joseph's mom, this book is also meant to help parents know how to handle difficult situations also. So the mom is saying, share my calm, share my calm, because parents want to be able to truly share their calm with their child. And if the parent can react in a way that helps the child know that I'm calm, I can help you regain your calm, we'll co-regulate together, then that can be helpful to the child. So because the mom is calm, she's able to then talk with Joseph about his big feelings. So she starts, and he's in the red zone, and she kind of moves him a little bit closer to the blue zone where he's in control. And she's just talking about what she sees with his voice, with his body, and how he's feeling, and acknowledging that she realizes he doesn't want to do this and that it's not easy. And you can see his body language changing, which Joe did such a great job of demonstrating, because that is what I look for with children, is can I see a change in their body language? Because if I do, once I do, then I know that I can step in then and start talking about solving the problem. So his mom at this point recognizes that he's available to listen. And so she can work with him now and let him solve his own problem. So notice in the story, it's not her solving the problem, it's him. So this is where the fun kicks in, and Joseph realizes he has an idea of how to solve this problem in his imagination. So here we go to his imagination. So this is Planet Kelvin 273. And this is our first introduction to the Hypnozoids, which is the character we're going to focus on today. So Joe, do you want to tell a little bit more about your idea of drawing the Hypnozoids?
Sure. So originally when I started drawing and sketching things out with Nan, it was a completely different looking little monster, very jaggedy. I wanted to kind of demonstrate like what number one, I guess, would be like, what do we call this thing? And so I just thought, well, based on what Nan and I were talking about with the story, it was more about, well, it's like the kid, Joseph, the main character, he is hypnotized by the show, television, and he's completely like focused on that, distracted, and didn't want to listen to mom. So, I just started thinking of different ideas, and it just kind of popped into my head. It's like, well, he's basically hypnotized. So why don't we just call him a hypnozoid? And so everything was kind of based around hypno. So, so the first sketch that I did was very jagged. Again, it was almost like too scary looking for like a children's book. And so I just kind of softened him up a little bit, but I wanted something that didn't look like the Warner Brothers character. That I forget his name. But he's big and red and hairy, and he had kind of the same look. So that's when I decided to add the third eye to him, and would kind of just show the same emotions that his regular eyes were showing. It's just something different. But you'll see in the just following pages that the Hypnozoids are just trying to do their best to continue to entrap Joseph and get him to not listen to mom. And so that's kind of their goal is just to continue keeping Joseph distracted.
Right. And the third eye also, I think about it also as, and we think of the third eye as the clarity and focus and awareness. So that's what I'm also wanting, like Joseph to understand, like we can work with that. So here's where he and Gretchen start thinking about going into their imagination. So this is the control panel, and you can see back on here with more detail, the mom is there. And that's one of the messages I like to share with kids, is that there will always be an adult right with you to help you with those big feelings. You're not alone. And that mere presence of an adult can help children be able to calm more readily, because they know they feel safe with another adult there that they trust. Here's Robojo. We'll talk about him in a minute. And the other things are just like, here's where the hypnozoids are and where Joseph is, and the sign that says they're approaching. So that gives the drama to the story, that something is going to happen. And so here is, it's happening, and he's ready to launch into his imagination. So this is Robojo. Robojo is a combination of robot and Joseph. And he is, maybe you could call it an avatar for Joseph. It's whatever happens to the robot happens to Joseph, and vice versa. So they're really one and the same, but he's using his imagination to be Robojo because he doesn't want to go in and fight personally. He's sitting in his robot himself as a robot to fight the hypnozoids. So here they are. They've got this, he's coming in with his blue eyes, ready to tackle the problem. And blue eyes representing, like, I'm in control, I know what I'm doing. But then he comes upon the hypnozoids who are completely ready for a battle with him. So Robojo's ready too, but he's not really prepared for that hypnotron right there. And the hypnotron can spit out hypnocables. And so this is an example to show us what it can feel like when we're hypnotized, or when we're stuck, or when we're in fight or flight or freeze mode. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. And when we're feeling that way, if we're on our own, it's hard to know what to do. But if we've got somebody like Gretchen, who in the story represents Mom, then she's not squeezed by the hypnocables. She's in control. And thank goodness, because she's going to help Joseph later in the story. So in his case, he's battling the desire to keep watching TV, which is what he really, really wants to do. And yet he knows he's supposed to stop and go to get ready for bed. But it's a really hard thing for him to do. He's young. He doesn't have very much experience in his life of doing hard things. And so he's learning, and his mom is teaching him about that. And he's trying to build his skills to be able to do hard things. The other kinds of hard things that kids present with is being anxious even about doing something that they've never done before, and that fear of what if. And Gretchen can help with that type of situation also. And you'll see as we go along the kinds of tools that are available that Gretchen offers to Joseph in the story. And so here, because Robojo and Joseph are basically one and the same, when Robojo falls over because of the hypnocables, so does Joseph. And now he's at the control is in the hands of the hypnotron. So Joseph really has no control. And this is what happens with a lot of the children I work with, is basically Joseph on the ground. You probably have seen or experienced yourselves children lying on the ground, pounding their fists like this and not wanting to do something. It just means that I'm having a really hard time. I need help, because this desire to just do what I want to do is really strong. So here's the hypnotron zooming in to help to hypnotize Joseph even more, or in this case, Robojo. So you can see that his eyes and mouth have changed from blue, no longer in control, to orange. Uh-oh, I see where this is heading. This is not great. And then this is where Gretchen steps in and says, well, Joseph, we have some tools that we can use. You don't have to continue to feel this way, but first I need to help you calm. So that's what Gretchen is trying to do. What could help you, like Spaceman Sen says, calm, so that you could think through a plan for what to do to get back in control, so you can do what your mom is asking you to do. So Joe did a great job with this gauntlet that's at the bottom of the page. And when I'm working with kids, Joe created a blank one that I can use with kids so they can fill in the picture here themselves of what they want to see as a goal for them to achieve. And then they can either write words here in each of the boxes or draw pictures here of what they think they could do to get back in control or to calm. So Gretchen is offering Joseph some ideas and finally settles on breathe. So breathe is something that so many parents tell their kids to do, but it's not really all that easy for children to learn how to do that. And so it's still, I'm trying to model that that is something to try and that it can be successful. And this is sort of also going back to Spaceman Sam's idea of how does it feel to you? Can you feel it in your body that tells you, I don't like how this feels? And so Joseph is saying, yeah, I don't like how it feels in my head. It feels weird or funny. And so Gretchen is trying to help him calm so that he can, they're having a conversation about it. They're aware that there's a problem and Gretchen is there to help calm and help him eventually figure out what he wants to do to solve the problem. Joe, did you want to add anything on this gauntlet or anything?
Well, a little behind the scenes, just info from how I designed the gauntlet. So I used to do a lot of video editing and video recording. So I based the gauntlet around an old Sony camcorder. So that's all the controls and everything were just buttons and knobs that were on the camcorder. So it just looked techie and cool enough where the kids were just like, wow, what's this? And so I've always tried to, like, on drawings in the book, I was trying to make it like really interesting for kids to just keep looking. Like there's just different layers of, well, what's this? So there's little Easter eggs here and there that I put in there. So just make it interesting for the reader and the viewer.
And I have some kids who just totally get it. They really understand. I don't even have to tell them the story. They can read it to themselves. They totally get it. And other kids, I really need to coach them along. This is what it's about and spell it out for them and help them relate to their situation so that they understand, like, I have challenges just like Joseph. I wonder how Joseph will solve this. Maybe I could do the same thing with help from my mom. So I want the parents to be in a session listening in as well, so that they understand how they can also reinforce the messages at home. So Joseph realizes he's got an ally here. He can get Gretchen to help him out because he really still is stuck and not sure what to do. And he still needs to borrow the strength of Gretchen. He still needs to borrow her drive to defeat the hypnozoids. He's not quite there yet. So Gretchen goes out and says, okay, I love this picture, everything about it. Gretchen's seeing everything that's down below, and she sees in one glance what the problem is with the hypnozoids. And so she sees what her job is to do. And so here they are, they're thinking, woohoo, we are in control of Robojo. We won this battle. And so they don't see Gretchen coming in. And so Gretchen knows where the willpower button is. And so she goes to the side and uses her paw to scan the door open. And then when she flips the switch, then the shield comes down. So Robojo can no longer be hypnotized. The laser beam comes out, and now the laser beam can zap all the hypno cables out. And this represents, when I can think about what to do and I can just use my willpower, the freedom, it feels so much better not to be all stuck and tied up. And I like this way better, but I couldn't get here on my own. I needed you, Gretchen, or in other words, a parent, to help me be able to get to this place. Joe, do you want to tell more about I love this whole scene here.
Yeah, well, the what I liked about willpower, so if you scroll back up, Nan, what it means, it's like wired immobilization liberator laser. So again, just like I'm just trying to play with the theme of the story here and just come up with just different ideas that kids can like help them think about, like, well, what's willpower? Like they can actually visualize, well, I'm wrapped up and I'm immobilized, and it's just another way of thinking about it. And so they could imagine themselves like, well, like Robojo, he's using his willpower. And since Gretchen is the voice of reason, it's like represents mom, then that way it's like, okay, what did mom say? What is mom trying to say? And what am I doing as far as like, okay, am I out of control? What should I do? And I'm going to use my willpower to take control of my feelings and not let myself be hypnotized by the hypnotron. And so that's kind of where I was going with this. And so you scroll back down there, Nan, and it shows, so you can see where the willpower is coming from. So he's using his brain to start up the willpower. It snaps off everything that the straps or the cables that are holding him and squeezing him and preventing him from doing what he should be doing. And the eye shield is basically deflecting the hypnotron. So it's kind of like a 2-layer thing. So he's freeing himself using his willpower and then deflecting what he's seeing. And so he can get back to where he should be.
And this is one of the things that I encourage kids to do as we talk about how can you defeat the hypnozoids? And some of the kids like to keep points, like, oh, I earned 5 points this week for defeating the hypnozoids, and they didn't get any points. So it's fun for them to play that game too. So here's Joseph. He's back in control now, and he can turn off his the buttons on the hologram, and so can Robojo. And now the hypnozoids are really disappointed and angry, and they're thinking, we're not done. We're going to come back. Just wait till tomorrow night at bedtime. We're going to be there again. What will you do? And I love the power pose of Robojo, like, I'm in control now. I'm in power. I have the power to do this. I have the confidence. I can do this. And I'm going to be standing like this tomorrow night at bedtime. And I'm going to be able to defeat you much easier because I've got practice with this now. And so here he is, he's ready. He's back at his space control and control panel.
You can see on the screen too, where it shows the hypnotrons, and then it's on the right-hand side, it says all good and under control. So now there's a green light as opposed to the beginning, there was a red light.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the hypnozoid's face has changed also. And there goes Robojo. And so they say, thumbs up. If you enlarge this picture, you can see Gretchen doing the same thing. And I like to think of this as a celebration kind of dance that Gretchen is doing, because we did it, Joseph, we did it. And so she zooms back in, another one of my favorite pages. And then they have their reunion and celebration. And I love this picture. We that's it. It's the reconnecting with mom, in this case, Gretchen, of course, but it's reconnecting with his mom. Okay, thanks for helping me with this. I feel better. I can do what you asked me to do. We're connected. And this is where he goes back into his real life. His imagination story is done. His mom reviews with him what actually happened. That's an important part to narrate a story and talk about what did you learn from it and review the steps. And so now, no problem for Joseph to turn off the TV. He's imagining himself turning off the screen on his mission control panel, and no problem doing it at home for real. And so his mom wants to reinforce the messages, wants to reinforce how his brain is growing from doing hard things like that. And she talks to him about, yeah, at first it did feel like too much for you. It felt like it was something you really didn't want to do. So this is sort of, again, that narration of how the evolution of the feelings happened from being really upset to being back in control, and then previewing what will happen tomorrow. So he's imagining himself being able to do this. So that's future thinking, and being able to, and remembering, I remember how that felt with Gretchen and me when we were on the spaceship, and we're in that power pose. We're in control. We can do this. And then she asks him, so what will you do tomorrow night? And he says, I'd like to feel in charge of my big feelings. He wants to be able to do hard things. All kids want to be just like Joseph, handle hard things, even though they know it's not what they really want to do. They do like being able to do it and feel proud of themselves. And that's the poster in the background says, tomorrow I will be a day older. Tomorrow I will be more practiced. And tomorrow doing hard things will be just a little easier. So I think it's a very encouraging poster. And I have it posted in my office where kids come, because I want them to feel encouraged also that, yeah, it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight, but every time you practice it, it does get easier. And then the ending is mission control. So the sense of euphoria and desire to repeat that feeling, it feels good. And so that's how the hypnozoids were defeated by Joseph. Do you have more to share, Joe, on any of the pages?
Well, just a little Easter egg. So I made Joseph he's just kind of a techie kid and very imaginative. And so I like the idea that he's very much into space and solar systems. And so that's where I came up with having all the planets hanging off of the ceiling and the little dragons that he has on the wall there. So that's kind of a preview for our next book. And if we go to the back of the book, the back cover, is that on here, Nan?
Yes.
Right there. So this is kind of a preview of where they're going next. So they already left his imagination. So when he goes to sleep, this is kind of what's happening next. So Nan and I have this idea that for the next few books, that the next planet that they're going to go to is the dragon one is the next one, Nan? Yeah. So each one of these is a different book, a different story. And the next one they're going to is the Planet of Dragons.
Yeah.
So he's going to be learning different things. And that's where the badges of power, that's where the title comes from. You'll notice on Rabojo's chest and Joseph and Gretchen, they have a shield. And there's little notches where they're going to earn badges that will be placed in that shield, but they don't know that yet. And so when they go to these different locations, they'll earn based on what they learn and what they do. They're going to earn a badge, and the badge represents something that they learn.
Right. Great. Yeah. And also going back here, I have some tools that I've put into a toolbox for kids so that it gives them ideas of what to do for their badge or their gauntlet. So I have this little, this little toolbox, and in the toolbox is a child can have his own willpower switch and have stickers of the hypnozoids with an X on it. Some kids like to put this on their front door and say, no hypnozoids allowed into this house. We have caution tape. So if a parent sees maybe that a child might be having trouble, might anticipate that they're going to have trouble with doing something hard, they might put a caution tape up, or they might put little pylons like this to like mark off like, uh-oh, watch out. And we have in the toolbox like a counter. so kids can count how many times they actually defeated the hypnozoids. And with binoculars here to see them coming. So some of the difficulty with children is they don't, when they're struggling with something, is they don't see that big feeling is coming. They don't anticipate it. So if parents can say, let's look and see if there's any hypnozoids on the horizon. If there are, what should we do to be prepared for them? And I have like 20 different things in here. I have little walkie-talkies. So sometimes, well, always, anytime you can make it fun instead of just feeling hard. So if you can talk to the parent or a teacher or whoever through a walkie-talkie, it's way more fun than just talking face to face. So it takes a little bit of the distraction off of the actual challenge, but still addresses the challenge, but in a more fun way. So lots of different kinds of things like that. I even have a laser pointer, not laser pointer, but it's a laser that kids can put on their fingers and turn the light on. And so they can be just like Robojo with his laser. So do you have anything more you wanted to share, Joe?
No, I think you covered everything.
You know,
That was, I just want to make sure that everyone, like, since we're talking about the hypnotrons, I mean, yeah, hypnozoids, they will be the antagonists for all of the books in one form or another.
And they are the most talked about character in the whole book. Kids are really interested in the I have a picture of Gretchen, the real Gretchen, holding a picture of the book on an iPad. And I have that posted in my room, and kids ask a lot of questions like that's really puzzle to them. Like, how can that dog be holding a picture of herself? And how can that dog be holding that iPad? And were treats involved in doing that? And so they like that. But the one that they really, really have the most questions about is the hypnozoids. So that's why we decided to start with that today, because that's on kids' minds. They are thinking about it. They want to do what is expected of them. They will do what is asked of them if they can. And if they can't, in that moment, that's why I've modeled in the story, I need to give you a little help, maybe make the demand smaller, more manageable, or add more support to make the demand more doable for the child. So that's my goal in the stories. And as Joe said, it gets much more interesting as the story goes on. And the whole point of the series is to teach kids the whole idea of where do you go with your learning and how do you share that with the world. So that's it, unless you have more to share, Joe.
Nope, I think I'm good.
And then we will have 4 more series, and we'll highlight other characters in the other series. We'll do it similarly, but put more focus on, instead of the hypnozoids, the next week when we meet again, it'll be on a different character. It'll be sort of the same thing going through, but highlighting the characters. Thank you, Emily, for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us for this first episode of the Mission Control. I think we'll be back next week. So coming in June next week at the same time. And so until next time, have a safe and productive week, and do